Wow, boys, sometimes you just can't catch a break. I just tried to start the truck and my starter just died. That is wild. Roof off, cold as hell. Dead. Now for the fun part. Walking it into the garage. So we've gotten the truck in the garage. Real light, super easy to push. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my jack, and I like to jack it up from the side of the frame here. Once you drive it up on like a block of wood or two. So I'm gonna slide that under there, jack it up, put my jack stand, and before I lift it up, I'm actually gonna crack this wheel. I'm gonna take this wheel right off. It'll make things so much easier. Just wanna make like the quickest style video I can for you guys, showing you. I mean, it's a really simple job, but I know some people new to the mini truck game will kind of be pretty curious about how to do it themselves, and you'll save a lot of money doing it yourself. All I gotta do is get my jack stand under there, and then we're gonna pull the wheel off. These are, I actually love the wire wheels for how easy they are to like work with. Just peeling these off, so simple. Set that down and just grab the wheel, pull it right off. Bam, simple. Now our starter is on the front side of it's basically on the engine side. That's our starter right there. It goes backwards facing the transmission. And you're gonna want some extensions, you're gonna want a swivel, and I'll let you know what size socket once I get Another big step is you're gonna want to disconnect your battery. That way you're not arcing anything down here. So once your battery is removed, we're gonna look at the starter that we have here. I'm just using an old one just because it's literally here. Why not use it up? And you're gonna have a connection that you're gonna have to disconnect, and then you have a nut right here. You're gonna have to loosen up, pull off. And lastly, I'm gonna have to find a nut for this one if it is this one. And lastly, you have the 2 bolts that go through these 2 holes. One sits pretty accessible right down here. We're probably gonna wanna get under the truck, but I can show you right there. All right, so our starter's right back there, like I said. And what we're gonna need to do is, I like to get at this first bolt from right under the truck. And I'll show you. You can actually see the first bolt from right here. So instead of trying to get at it from the side, if you go under the truck, that's why we lifted it up, that first bolt is so much more accessible. I can just take a 14 of my ratchet and get right at it. Just a good look so it makes a little more sense. Right down there is our ratchet. I can literally access it so easily from under the truck now. And now I can just grab it and loosen up that bolt. So now I've gotten my hand just right through here with an extension on that socket, and we are pulling off that first bolt real nice and easy. You would probably have a big flap in here that you're gonna also have to take down. I kind of deleted all that stuff off my trucks. Live in a state with too much rust and rot, so it's easier just to not have that stuff that's gonna hold it in place. But got our first bolt out, real small, nothing crazy. And yeah, like I said, it's gonna be all these little plastic clips holding it in, so sorry I can't show you that, but I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Now, this is where things get a little difficult. We're gonna have to take this little setup we have here. I might even put the swivel right beneath the socket, and then run a bunch of extensions so I can actually access the bolt I need to on the other side of the starter from here. But you can actually see it. It's right in there, that little bolt head. So we're gonna try to access it from all the way out here. And that'll make this job way easier. So like I was saying, there's the bolt head back there. We got a swivel, our socket, and a bunch of extensions. It is kind of whack, but it's always worked really well. And there's our bolt back there. Literally just need to squeeze this all the way in here around the wiring harnesses, get it onto that head, and just loosen it up. I actually might need another extension. All right, check that out. We got all of our extensions in place. We're on that bolt. And now I can just access it from right here, making the job so much easier. Extra extension is making great work. You can see it turning in there. Oh, so much better. Yeah, like I said, you get a bunch of extensions on there, it's gonna be so much easier. So we've pulled our about 1.5 foot of extensions out of there. I did get the bolt out of the top of there, so pretty happy with that. Now I gotta reach under here and basically just grab the starter, pull it down. It's just gonna pop right out. So if I grab it, I can push right on the backside, get it right out of place. And now I gotta lean it right down through here by my clutch sleeve. You wanna be careful of that hose. And we're gonna have to get at the harness and see where we can go to remove the wires on the back of the starter. So I've spun the starter around, and right here I can see my connection. This goes to the back side of the starter. So I'm gonna need both hands, but right here we got this little connection that comes off the starter, and this is this little plug right here we have to unplug. Basically, whatever this plug is gonna determine which starter I'm gonna need out of the ones I have. But it seems like back here, there's a little thing you squeeze down on. So I push down on that, you can just unplug it. Once you've disconnected your little connection down there, we can actually pull the starter down and over the clutch slave hose, and here we have our starter. Now all I gotta do is crack this 14mm right here with a ratchet and pull the starter off. So right now we've just loosened up that connection. Just gotta pull it right off of the starter, just like that, and now the starter's free. Usually I like to walk it over to here, just kind of pull it down. You just gotta keep moving things out of your way. We've gotten out our starter. So now we can compare it with another one, see which one we need. Like I had figured, we're gonna need this one right here. This one is pretty old. I'm sure this one probably won't last a lifetime either, but it is the same exact kind of starter, same exact single connection. This connection, I believe, is the one they use on the four-wheel drives, but I'm sure you could splice this connection onto here and use this one all the same. I don't know if there's a flywheel size difference or anything. I think they all just bolt up the same. But we're going to stick with the two-wheel drive one. Hopefully this one is good. It'll be a real bummer if I spend the time putting it back in and it isn't. But, usually recommend just buying brand new. I just, why hold on to these parts if I'm never going to use them? So guess I'm going to reconnect that thing and throw it back in there using all the same tips and tricks I just showed you guys. Lastly, if you were watching closely, don't worry, I did clean off the corrosion that was building up on these, so everything's all cleaned up now, and now I'm going to set it back in place. We're going to start with our wire we just removed. I'm going to slide it back on, tighten it up, connect this connection, and just kind of finagle this thing right back up to its home. And then it is a little tricky to get the bolts back in place. Like I said, you're going to need your whole ratchet combo we had, and you're just gonna have to kind of take it by hand and slowly thread it in and make sure it's straight, or you will cross thread it and have some serious issues. And then the same thing will come down here, tighten it by hand, tighten it up, and give it a start check. I've gotten the nut tightened up on the starter, and how I got to that is I got right under the truck and just kind of by the oil filter, and I just kind of stuck my ratchet right up there and got to it. It was a little easier getting under the truck to do it because you don't really get a lot of workspace in here. But I just got to connect my connection that I unplugged earlier and get this back up in place. So I do got to say, it is a little bit of a pain in the tail to get the starter up in place. Your best bet is if you can lay under the truck, grab the starter with one hand, and try to start the bottom bolt with one hand, the other. You can just kind of tighten it up. It'll squeeze the starter into place. And then as you can see, I was able to reach literally my hand in from right here. I used my left arm, I reached in, I laid on the ground, able to actually start it for the first time ever. I do have a lot of open space here though, so you gotta kind of move some lines around carefully if needed. But I'm gonna have to tighten the bottom bolt after. Gonna get my contraption going, tighten up that top bolt, and hopefully this thing works. Our starter is up in place now. We are going to hook back up the battery, get in the truck, and hopefully this thing kicks over. I'm pretty excited to see. Hopefully it works. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Well, that doesn't sound good at all. The starter I just put in there was bad, so I got that other one I'm going to try to make work and get it in the truck. But if you're watching this to know how to change your starter, that is how to change it. You just, like I said, the gamble of trying to use an old one. So if you buy new, you won't have that problem. And I'm going to try out my other one. So if you want to stay through and watch the rest of that, I'm going to give it a go. Well, long time no see. So basically, I guess what that would show you is what another bad starter sounds like. So the starter is spinning. It's just not engaging, which is also a problem, another form of a bad starter. If that starter lines up with one, I might as well keep trying them out because, they're just... they're just sitting around for nothing. I'm going to try this one. If they're the same thing, then I'm going to snip this connection and use the other connection that's already on the starter I have. That way this one can just go in its place. All right, the old starter's out. We've gotten these in place. Literally the same connection. It's just a one-prong piece, but I don't know. It's just got a different, piece of plastic that it snaps to. But I believe this will work just fine. Like I said, I think this is my factory 4x4 starter, so that was working just fine before I took it out of there. And now I should be completely fine. Just going to heat this up, put some tape around it because it's exposed to the elements, pop it back in there. Just like that, all sealed up. I'll see you guys once I get this back in. All right, we've gotten our second used starter in there. Like I said, I have the used parts, so it just makes sense to use them. We're going to reconnect the battery and try it again. I hope this one works. Deja vu. Yep. Look at that. Now we're good. Ready for this? You ready for this? Bam. Imagine it didn't start. That actually, it would have been like not funny but funny. All right, now we got a starter in this thing. No more bumps starting it to move it around for. I mean, it's only been down for 12 hours, but happy with that. Now I can just throw my wheel back on here and call it a day. But look at that. I got my used starter to work. Hopefully I can get, like a little bit more time out of that. I just, no sense in holding on to all these used parts if I'm never going to use them. But I recommend buying new, unless you have the parts. Then send it if you want to take the risk of it not working. It wasn't too bad the second time. It probably took 20 minutes the second time. The first time it took about 40, just, having to remember how to do everything. But, not a lot of tools needed for the job, a 13 and a 14 millimeter. The back of the starter, those little nuts that were connected to the electrical wires were 13 millimeter. But yeah, pretty happy with this. Just gonna slap the wheel on, tighten that up, and drive it out of the garage. Well, all right, everybody, that's gonna do it for today's how-to video. Real simple. There's like 3 nuts and bolts to mess with. You got 1 connection. And it's just about kind of moving things around to get at it. Just wanted to give you a how-to, though. I didn't want to go too crazy with the vlog-style stuff after. Just to make a video to hopefully encourage someone else who may need to do their starter and is just like, I might send it to a shop. I mean, you can really save some money doing it yourself. And it's really not all that hard. I'm going to close up my hood now, though. We're going to call that a vid. And if you want to see some more Minitruck content in the future, don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got tons of cool how-to videos for aftermarket parts and much, much more. And thanks y'all so much for checking it out. Have a great day.